Good morning and Happy New Year to everyone. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted through WebEx, an online digital platform, and live streamed on the City of Toronto YouTube Planning channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. My name is Larry Clay. I'll be chairing this morning's session, filling in for Don Granitstein, who would normally be chairing, but Don is going to be joining us virtually through the WebEx portal, along with his colleagues Yim Chan, Carl Nipfel, and Peter Reed. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone, or a tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted upon entry, and when your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called upon to speak. We acknowledge the land that we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because the Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB will be sending notifications and appeal updates by mail. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The procedure for the hearing, I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may also ask questions and take matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're reaching the 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and your address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain any revisions to the proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then, individuals either in support or oppose the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has an opportunity to rebut those issues which were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussions, and then the application will then be taken into committee and discussed by members for a decision. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do we have any minutes to confirm?
Not today.
Thank you. Members, are there any declarations of interest on any of the items in the morning session? Seeing none. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any deferral requests?
Yes, in the morning time slot we have one item Item number 12. 113 Bristol Avenue. Members have correspondence from the agent who indicated he's unable to attend today, but given that there's opposition to the matter, is asking for deferral. I also believe there's a registered speaker who's the owner online.
Is he online?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have the registered agent here.
Is this Jonathan Bensowski?
It is.
Okay. Members of the panel, maybe we can just deal with this one right off the top. Mr. Bensowski, are you on the line?
I'm here, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. I understand you're seeking a deferral?
Correct. The original reason was my wife was to have a procedure today that has been canceled, so I am able to attend. But regardless of that, I did speak with the adjacent neighbor to the south about some of the concerns, and I would like to rectify portions of the application that I've since found out are incorrect. So I would like a deferral to be able to rectify some of the issues that have been raised by the neighbors.
Great. Thank you, panel. Any questions? Can I get a motion to defer? Carl?
Mr. Chair,
Oh, is there someone else speaking?
my apologies. There is somebody registered in support of this. Doesn't seem like they're here, and we're trying to call them, but there is somebody registered in support or opposition. We aren't too sure.
I think it's the owner.
You think it's the owner?
I think it's the owner.
Okay.
Okay, if it's the owner, we'll just proceed, because if there's any concern, then that person will have an opportunity at a later date to raise those concerns. Carl, are you moving deferral?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am.
Seconder? Peter? Thank you. All in favor? You have your deferral, sir.
Message.
Okay, did we deal with the closing of the files, Madam Deputy Secretary Chair? There are no files to be closed?
No, there are no files to be
Great,
closed.
thank you. Okay, we will then proceed with the first application of the day, 61 Willow Avenue. Before us, we have a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a decision from a previous application that was refused in September. We also have revised plans submitted. We have an email correspondence from engineering, email correspondence from transportation, staff reports from forestry. We have correspondence in opposition from 69 Willow, 47 Willow, 66, 61, 58, 60, 68, 72, 69, 51, 45, 80, 37, and also from 56 and 50 Willow. We also have a late email from planning with a condition. So I'm going to ask the agent, Mr. Lolos, to come on.
Good morning. Can you
Good
hear me?
morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lolos, there's a lot of information here. We have an awful lot of speakers, and we did note that you have submitted some changes to your proposed variances. So I'm going to ask you to do a short presentation of your proposal, but also highlight the changes that you're proposing in each of the variances. You have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank
Okay.
you, and good morning, members of the committee and city staff. I filed in front of us this.
Just going to ask you,
original-
Mr., if you could just speak up a little bit. We're hard to hear you.
With all due respect, I'm having trouble with my iPod. So can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, given the scenario and history of the file being in front of the committee almost 2 years ago and being refused outright, which is understandable and recognized, because I really believe truly that back then my client was misrepresented, misinformed of the conditions and the zoning bylaws, and specifically the neighborhood sort of context and neighborhood sort of support that they have there. So we've been diligently sort of working effortlessly to sort of take what we have present a new application to the committee, and still to the last hour, still trying to improve the application and try to minimize the variances accordingly. So to date, as we sit, given the fact that we have submitted a new a current zoning bylaw sentencing review dated January the 5th to the committee on January the 6th, these are the followings that we have sort of revised and actually reduced. Items number 1, 2, and 3 are being removed. Okay. Items 4 and 5 have been reduced from 11.12, both respectively front and back, to 10.34, respectively front wall and rear wall. Item number 6 is the total GFA area. Based on our current to-date zoning review, the actual floor space index is actually 1.04 times the lot area, and that's indicative of the breakdown of the GFA or the FSI as follows. Unfortunately, the bylaw doesn't recognize platforms above average grades as GFA. Having said that, our garage area, or our balance of our garage area, less the garage or designated parking spot, has a value of GFA that's added to the, or FSI added to the overall FSI percentage. Therefore, in a simple breakdown, the 1.04% of percentage is broken down this way. The house itself is actually 97.35%. The area around the allowable parking space within the garage is 6.65. So in essence, our true habitable FSI that we actually are seeking to entertain the family's needs is 97.35. That balance of 6.65 is more of a technical variance that's unfortunately written in the bylaw, and it's just one of those things that we just can't get away with. Item number 7, we have to maintain. It's our lot frontage characteristics. I wish I had another 0.01 meter. I could avoid this variance. Item number 8 has been reduced. The platform encroachment will, instead of encroaching 1.35 meters, it has been reduced to 0.28 meters. So that's a significant reduction. So item number 8, the encroachment was originally 1.35. It's now getting reduced to 0.28. And of course, item number 9 will maintain. So under that, I believe we made great strides from the original application 2 years ago, and we understand and recognize the neighbors' concerns, and up to the last hour that we possibly can to minimize the impact of the variances being requested for my client and his family's needs for a dwelling.
Through you, Mr. Chair, could the agent confirm whether minor variance number 9 is also being deleted?
No, it can't be. It can't be. It's part of the building construction may erect and land use and let's move on. Well, we have no. It's a vacant lot. We have to get water there. No, it's still active.
It's just that it's not noted on the zoning review that you submitted most recently.
Well, no. Well, I don't believe that's okay. I'm sorry, but no, it's still number 9 is still active. It's a vacant lot. We need to get water there services, right? So item number 9 is still active.
Item number 6, did you change the FSI, did you?
The FSI is now the revised ZZC based on January the 6th submission back to the plan. The FSI is 1.04 instead of 1.06.
Do you have the
breakdown? Do
you have the square meterage for that?
Absolutely. 1 second, please, sir. It's actually 244.40 meters squared.
Great. Thank you. Panel, any questions of Mr. Lolos? Yim?
Yes, I do have a question because I thought that this in one of the communication between the applicant and the city that is clarified there are existing services in this site. Regarding variance number 9, I thought it's been clarified that they do have existing services. That's what in my note, I think it's in one of the correspondence they have.
It is. Excuse me,
correspondence.
it's in the engineering report. I had this, that was my question as well. There's an
Yeah.
engineering report, and in it, it says city records indicate that there are existing municipal services, water main, storm, and combined sewers on Willow to service the empty lot.
Correct.
So it seems that the applicant does not know. Is
So,
It's up to the
Well, yes.
agent to delete, that's why.
Yeah,
yeah.
thanks, Jim and Carl. Mr. Lolos, I
Yes,
guess
sir.
it comes down to you. Do you want to keep that variance, or would you seek to remove it?
well, if the services are existing, then yeah, we would remove the variances.
You remove the variance. Okay, so we'll remove
Yeah,
variance number
yes.
9.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys. Don?
Yeah, I just want to go back to number 6. You gave us some explanation as to why it was over 97.35. Something to do with the garage. I didn't quite get it.
Okay. Under the bylaw regulations and review conditions, it's technically specified as follows. I mean, I can email the breakdown, but the balance, you're allowed to have a parking spot of 17.92 square meters within a garage area is an exempted area for car parking. So for example, if we had 2-car garage down there, we could only exempt 1 car parking spot of the percentage ratio of the FSI. The balance will be included in the overall FSI conditions. It's just how the bylaw is written. So therefore, the overall area of garage is 34 point something square meters. Within that, 17 square meters is the garage space or the parking spot, and the balance of that, which is 16.35 meters squared, is added to the FSI. That's 16.35 square meters are within the garage envelope is a percentage of 6.65%. Added to the GFA or the FSI. Sorry, I keep saying GFA, and my apologies. It's FSI. Again, we're not really going to be using that as habitable space. I mean, so therefore, technically, I think it's a technical sort of calculated area that really we're not using as habitable to live in. There's probably more storage, and within that itself, the actual part of that area is under the sunken entrance, which is more like a crawl space. So realistically speaking, how can we use it as habitable space? We can't, and it's not our intention. So I think it's more of a technical response or representative to the FSI calculations, understandably. But again, I think in this moment, it should be clear to the committee that that balance of 16.35 square meters of 6.65% is a technical additional to the 97.35%, which equates to 104 times the lot area, which is 244.40 square meters. I'm just trying to break it down exactly. Our habitable space that we actually live in.
Okay,
is truly
okay, Mr. Lobos, thank you.
97.35.
Don, is that satisfactory for you?
Yeah, except I have another question related
Yes.
to the height of because that's one of the bugbears of the opposition. So, Mr. Lolos, it seems to me from reading the material that your lot is higher than any other lot on the street. Is that correct?
Correct. Through you, Mr. Chair. Right now, our existing characteristics of grading or lot characteristics is as follows. From the curb of the entrance of the property to the actual front main wall, there's a difference of almost 1.75 meters in height, so 5'9" of difference in height. So yeah, unfortunately, given the lot characteristics, we are truly higher than that. Notwithstanding that, to the chair again, unfortunately, our main wall height is taken at our overall 3rd story, which is actually taken, if you actually look at the side profile, it's pushed back almost 4.5 meters. The actual true wall height that's actually going to be exposed along Willow of the front main wall, that vertical wall distance is only actually, our wall is actually, just a second, please, one second, where is this again? Yeah, yes, our main front wall truly facing the street is actually 7.73 meters high, which is our first wall that actually impacts the actual street. So therefore, if I had a sloped ceiling or a sloped roof line from that front main wall to the rooftop of the third, we wouldn't be having this front wall height variance because it would be encompassing of the roof liner characteristics. But unfortunately, how the bylaw is interpreted, we take the main height of the building, which is the third story, pushed back almost 3.5 meters beyond the front wall. So if you're looking from a streetscape point of view or a sight line, the way the elevation of the characteristics of the lot and where the house starts and that front main wall, you should not be able to see that third story height of 10.32 because the sight line will not allow you. The only true sight line you will have, a vertical wall, will only be 7.73 meters, way below the 9.5. Unfortunately, the back wall, the rear wall of the dwelling, is going to maintain that 10.32 rear yard. But again, we are facing a church, we're facing east, we're not really having a lot of great impact on anybody that can actually, unless the church any opposition on that, which I don't think they do.
So how much does the height of the lot contribute to the height you're asking for a variance?
The main wall variance. Well, again, like I said, I expected it. But our lot has a height difference from the curb to the actual front main wall of almost 1.75 meters.
Okay.
And that's not what you're actually putting up on screen right now is not really truly the revised drawings. The revised drawings were submitted back to the committee on January the 6th, and I'm not sure that you're actually looking at that because we actually pushed the house further and further into the ground.
Okay, Don, satisfied?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Great. Okay, we're going to turn to those folks on the line. First up is Olivia Rivas.
Mr. Chair, just 1 minute. Olivia, you've been unmuted. You can go ahead.
Olivia, could you just state your name and your address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Olivia Ribas. I live on 6th-9 Willow Avenue. We will be the next, I'm saying will because my husband is here in the meeting too, and he's gonna talk as well.
Okay, you have 5 minutes between the two of you, so it starts now.
Between the two of us.
Oh, so can he speak because he has everything prepared with
Yes,
photos
he
and
can speak,
everything.
but between the two of you, one
Okay.
address, you have 5 minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Are we allowed to share?
Yes, you can share. What's your name, sir?
Pierre Di Girolamo?
Say again?
Pierre Di Girolamo?
DiGiraldo.
I'm the, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm just trying to find your
Guys, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes, please proceed.
Yeah, I can't seem to share anything. No.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk about our main concerns. So what we had for concerns, the first concern was the height of the building.
I'm sorry, sir, we can't hear you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We can't hear you. Could you speak closer to the microphone, please?
Yeah, 1 second. You hear? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Just speak loudly.
I can't hear. Sorry about that. So our first concern was the height of the building, but it seems to me, as Lolo's explained, that the height will only be 33 feet, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, our biggest second concern is the length of the house. So the house will extend about 2 meters past our house. which means it'll create a shadow effect on our house, and we won't be able to get any natural sunlight coming into our backyard anymore. Unfortunately, I put it into the application of the email I sent you, showing exactly the back of the house, and oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so the first item, I'll talk about the first item quickly, is they're asking to bring the house to 0.65 meters instead of 0.91 to the property line. That means that we're gonna have difficulty getting access to our backyard, and also removing the garbage bin from the area, because it is a shared area. This is a problem for us because on the other side of the house is the main entrance to 71 Willow, so we cannot put any garbage bins on that side. The back of the house on the second pictures, as you're showing, is roughly where the new proposed house is gonna stop. The second pictures basically shows that the house is gonna block all sunshine coming into the back of our house. So which is cause for concern because we do have a blog business here in the house. If you want, my wife has a food photography, and we need natural sunlight to come into the house. Also, it's nice to have natural sunlight in your house, right? So that'll block anything coming into the house. If you scroll down, further down to the next slide. This was the concern about the height, but as we saw on the last revised drawings that we only got Friday, shouldn't impact that much, but we do have a skylight within the house that house, if it was 10.34 meters, would have blocked any natural light coming into our house. So if he confirms that the height of the house is roughly 8 meters, then we have no objection further.
For that.
So what we're objecting basically is the size of the house, the width-wise and the length-wise.
Especially because there is like the window, the kitchen window, faces a huge wall as well. If you can go up, you're gonna see there is a church. So if they, a bit more, no, yeah. If you see at the back, there is a huge wall because it's the church. And then if they go so long like they want to go, we are gonna have only this view, like only walls, and then it's gonna block sunlight for us to, if we wanna grow something in the backyard is gonna be totally dead. And also I am a food photographer, so I need natural light, and that's the only light that I use. That's the only window that we have natural light coming from. So this would be a very big problem for us because my business pay half of this house. So it's like, concerns me a lot, this lack of light that we may get if this house, the length, it's gonna be this much.
We also, the other thing we would like to mention is that 2 years ago, the church went and severed these blocks, and they had an agreement, various meetings with the neighborhood, and within the neighborhood they agreed to cut or sever the lots into 4 houses that would be roughly 1,700 square. This was a long negotiation with the church and an agreement with all the neighborhood. And when we decided to build 2 years ago our house, we decided to respect the neighborhood and the decision that was done. And we'd appreciate if that would be considered also by the owners. So we're not opposed to have new neighbors. We're really excited to have people next to us, but we'd just like for them to respect what was negotiated by the land of the church and all the neighbors.
Great, thank you very much. Panel, any questions? Yim? Then Carl.
Yes, just a quick question because I'm still a little confused. Is your house at the south side or the north side of the applicants?
North side.
North side?
So it's all the sun can be blocked from that house.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear.
It's north side.
You're on the north side.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
which means the house is gonna for sure block the sunlight,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
it's not labeled on this. I look at the site plan and the survey. It's not labeled. So you are on the.
Yes,
Now,
this one, 69.
Okay, thank you.
Carl?
Could we post the first photograph that the gentleman mentioned, the one that has the side yard with the garbage can on it? There. I have a question about your point that you can't get access, you can't get your garbage cans from the backyard to the front, which is a huge problem if that it is in fact the case. The yellow line is the property line, correct?
Yes.
And there is a proposed setback on the new house. And you actually have a garbage bin there that it looks as though the problem in getting it from the back to the front is in fact your own rainwater leader. Can you explain to me what side yard setback you're looking for that would allow you to provide access to the backyard for garbage?
I think it's not the garbage, it's, the setback would be 0.9, which was originally on the plans from the church. And that would allow us enough space, it's on both sides, to access our backyard. The garbage bins are not a problem. Behind the garbage bins, there's an AC unit. So it makes it difficult for me to go to the backyard. If we had an offset of 0.9, then I could bring the lawnmower in the back. I could go access the back. It'd be easier to remove the garbage bins. It's just I can't put them on the north side of the building because it's the church entrance.
You're looking for a north side yard setback on the new property of 0.9, is that right?
Yeah, as it was originally.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you
it's,
for
on
clarifying.
the other side, we cannot put the bins on the other side because the neighbor that lives on the other side, the entrance of their house is on this side. So we thought it was very disrespectful to put garbage bins in front of their main door. And that's why we need to put on this side. There is no other option to put garbage bins on the other side.
So
Thank you.
The north house faces north to south. As the rest of the houses on the street.
That's great. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Carl, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next speaker, Marinos Papadopoulos.
Marinos, you've been unmuted. You can go ahead.
If you could state your name and your address for the record, please.
Marinos, you've been unmuted. You can go ahead. Marinos, we've given you a call and an email. It seems that you tried joining through WebEx with no luck. Mr. Chair, maybe we should move on to the next speaker and
Okay,
get back
give
to
him a
Marinos.
call. The next speaker is John Travaglini.
John, you've been unmuted.
Hello, how are
Go
you?
ahead.
To
Hello.
the committee and all of my neighbors.
If you
and
could
my new
just
neighbor.
state your name and your address, please, for the record.
John Travaglini, 53 Willow.
That's great. Thanks. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, so I won't be long. I wasn't really going to object to this, but when I saw the size of the house, I realized that I had to at least voice my opinion. I believe that, you can play with the numbers all day long, but 0.014, I looked at some very large houses in the beach and they're at 0.79, and that was went to committee adjustments a number of times, lots of fighting amongst neighbors, and they got 0.79. We have 1.04, despite how you may calculate this, with, crawl spaces, that's inconsequential. What we're talking about is the master plan for the neighborhood. We're talking about a stable environment for the neighborhood. This house with this size at the 1.04 sticks out like it is not conducive to the neighborhood and what we're trying to achieve here. We received a really nice letter from the new owners talking about the neighborhood. But, I mean, you have to respect the neighborhood. The neighborhood is, you need those variances. And it's an atrocious ask at 1.04. That's my issue. And obviously the height was always an issue. I think you're playing with the grades here, you're playing with the numbers. But the reality is if you look at the footprint of the house, you look at the style of the house, and it is not conducive. Well, the style is individual, I shouldn't say that. But what I should say is that the house is way too big for the lot. It is exactly what we didn't want to do in the beaches, was build a house just to be a big house as opposed to a house that would fit into the neighborhood. And there is a lot, and I don't want to rob someone of, living in their house comfortably, but you have to live within the variances and within the stable environment and exactly what the plan for the neighborhood has in store. And the plan is there for a reason. So I truly believe that this variance in particular is much too large for the street. And it will cause a tremendous amount of issues regards to shadows. And I think we've, in the last maybe 10 years, this has become a big issue. And it's gonna become a very big issue on the street if we allow this very large house with too big of a footprint to cast shadows, and it will lead to a terrible precedent for the street. So, having said that, I welcome our new neighbors. I'm sure there's an agreement here. We don't need to be adversaries here. We can work something out, but I just think more respect for the existing plans that exist is needed. So, thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. Any questions, panel? Nope. We've been able to get,
Marinos, you've been unmuted again. You can go ahead.
hello?
Marinos, you can go ahead. You've been unmuted.
Hello?
30 seconds remaining.
Oh, yeah, they didn't actually pick up. I think it's just their voicemail.
Have we lost her? Okay. We'll keep trying, but perhaps we'll move ahead. We don't have any more speakers on the line. We will take it back to Mr. Lolos, and perhaps you can address some of the concerns you heard this morning. Mr. Lolos?
Can you hear me?
Just barely, if you could speak up a little, please, that'd be great.
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Respectfully to all comments as quickly as best I can to the noted sort of comments that we have in respect to our neighbors to the north. With all due respect, I understand and recognize some of your concerns. Again, we're not asking for any setbacks of encroachment. If the respectful picture and image is true of that side yard, really, I mean, there is no, in fairness, if the neighbor has 3 feet of setback, then that is our lot line. If the neighbor in the future decides to put a fence line along there, he really has no means of working or working around his air conditioning. That's just the truth of the matter. If there's a fence there, you'll have a problem there. If there's no fence there, you can probably encroach into the 0.6 meter setback that we have and get around that air conditioning to get to his backyard. And again, that will be an agreement between the neighbor to the north and the current homeowner of our application. I don't know any other way of soliciting this thing here. It's just the truth of the matter of the fact, we're allowing our access to our backyard along our south side, which we have a 0.93, and of course we'll navigate our air conditions and so forth respectfully, so we don't have to create hurdles and to get access to our backyard. In respect to our building depth, we're not asking for any building depth. I understand and respectfully fair to say that part of our FSI calculations is contributed to the building depth. I understand that. I'm not going to sort of try to pull the blanket over anybody's eyes in that. But again, I mean, how true and how real is that image that you're showing along that south image of yours that you're saying that our building is actually 2 meters past that? I mean, we have no reference on that. I can't speak on that as being true. What I could do, I mean, in all fairness, right now I have a allowable or tolerance of I can push the building forward by around 4 inches, because I can actually go right to the average or the minimum front yard setback, and then maintain the overall respectful depth that I allow at 14.94 meters. I don't know what else I can sort of facilitate the neighbor to the north other than what we're sort of presenting. That's basically what I can probably do right off the start to push the building forward. In respect to the second comment, the second speaker in relation to the FSI, when you look at the overall, and the Willow is established neighborhood. It's an old, I understand me so on, respectfully, we get it. There's a lot of great neighbors there. It's got a lot of great history. But again, at the end of the day, when people moved into that area, they didn't have the canvas or the opportunity to actually create something accordingly. The homes there, the majority of the homes are existing that people have purchased as existing benchmarks. Therefore, they never had the opportunity to work with an open canvas to design more of the family today's needs and so forth. Those homes are older, and dynamically speaking, and moving forward in our lives, there's a lot more demands in our lives today than what they had originally. So therefore, it could be smaller. The FSIs could be smaller, but again, in general speaking, I believe the FSI is actually true in keeping. With also having said that, 65 Willow, has an approval of 95%. I understand. So it's again, and that was approved back by the committee. And I know that I'm breaking down technical variances as far as FSI between garage area and so on, but that's the truth of the matter. Our actual truth of the matter is we only have 97% of FSI, and that's true. Unfortunately, the bylaw is going to read it at 104. That's understandable. I'm just trying to recognize the truth of the matter. I cannot, without consulting my client, respectfully, come back and say, unless I can get an excusal and go, you guys can move forward to the next application, will I get a hold of my client of perhaps having him entertain a less FSI. I can't do that on my own right now, and I can try to get him on the phone, but again, it's only if the committee permits me.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll just proceed with what is before us, if that's okay with the panel. Panel, any questions of the agent? Seeing none, we will then take it into committee. Questions, comments? Peter? Peter?
Yes, sorry, thanks, Chair. Just trying to find my mute button. I understand the neighbor concerns on this file, and I mean, I remember dealing with the property next door to that previously, and there were the similar concerns that came up, and I think this happens invariably, especially when you've got this vacant land that is being developed. I actually do think this is a reasonable application, particularly given the immediate context. And Willow is a residential street, mostly of single houses, but I think it's important to recognize what's immediately behind, and just a couple of doors to the north are 3- and 4-story apartments, and the 3 almost 4-story church hall behind. So I don't think the mass of this building is a significant problem, and I think that the revisions that the applicant has made do go to make a difference. So I'm going to be supporting.
Thanks, Peter. Anyone else? Yim?
Yes, I echo a lot of Peter's analysis, but also I like to add that I am also listening to the concern of the neighbor, especially the side yard setback. As it is, they are increasing it by the setback is about another 2.5 feet, 2 feet, and a little bit more. And I think that if they're concerned about access to the backyard, they already put an air conditioning there. Air conditioner there. I do not know why, if they want to have a wider access, but I think that you can still walk through with the proposed setback, and I'm not too concerned with that. And then I'm also in support of the application.
Okay, thank Thanks, Jim. Carl?
Mr. Chairman, I also am in support of the application as revised. I have sympathies with the side yard concern, but there is no variance for side yard setback. There's also no variance for the length of the building, so that if those two issues are the major concerns, they're not issues that are before us in terms of a request for variance. The issue of height is being addressed by the planning department by recommending that the third story, and their reference is variance number 7. I need a correction. I think it's in the revised set of variances from the applicant. I think it's variance number 5, pertaining to the maximum height of all front and rear exterior main walls shall be limited to that proposed third story as referenced on the front, rear, and the 2 side elevations. I think that is a reasonable approach to try and mitigate the issue of height on the street, and on that basis I also support the application, but I think we need to be careful in crafting the condition that we make sure it's referenced to the right variance. And perhaps somebody can help me. I think it's new variance number 5. Or, sorry, it's the old variance number 5, but I'm nervous about using a number because the numbers just changed. So maybe the reference should be that the variance pertaining to the maximum height of all front and rear exterior main walls shall be limited to the proposed third story, and we should not reference the variance number. Sorry for being so long with that.
No, that's fine, Carl. I had the same thought. It was formerly variance number 7, I think, wasn't it, when staff report
Yes.
submitted? So
Yeah.
if we can sort of trace that back to the would you, Madam Secretary Treasurer, would you want it specific, or is Carl's wording satisfactory?
It could be generic. I mean, variance number 4 and 5 will be renumbered to, I believe, 1 and 2 now.
Okay. Carl, I think your generic reference would probably be satisfactory if that works for you.
Okay.
Any further comments? Okay, could I get a motion, please? Oh, sorry, Yim?
So, yes, I have a comment. I do not think you can renumber the variances because in a record, so may have already number 1 and 2 are deleted. We should just keep the original numbers, I think.
Through you, Mr. Chair, when variances are deleted, the decision notice would be containing revised numbering for the variances because the deleted variances would not be contained in any decision notice. So they do get renumbered.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Peter, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'm happy to bring a motion for approval of the application as revised, subject to urban forestry condition 1 and 2, and subject to the generically worded planning condition related to the height of the building being substantially in accordance with the elevations.
Okay. Seconder to that? Carl?
Is
Okay.
there, before we proceed, Peter, is there an engineering condition? I have a note about an engineering condition, but with respect to water, et cetera. Is that a condition, or is that, or actually, I think that was withdrawn.
That was variance number 9. I think that was withdrawn, Don?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Carl. All in favor?
Who seconded that?
Carl. It's unanimous. You have your approval, sir. Okay, we move on to item number 2, 50 Bleecker Street, Unit 2. Before us, we have a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a staff report from Heritage. We have some speakers on this item. The agent, Mr. Westwood, online. Mr. Westwood? Hello. You've got, I think we've got some speakers, so we wouldn't mind a brief presentation if we could.
Okay. Sorry, you can hear me?
A little louder would be great. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. I'll do my best. All right. The purpose of the application is to allow the owner to build a small walkout on his roof so he can create some rooftop amenity space. There is precedent for it. In fact, when the building was converted to condos back in 1994, permission was granted for a very similar structure. In terms of the area around that building, this is actually one of the lowest buildings in the area, or short. Most of the buildings are low-rise, but at least 3 stories. Some are mid-rise. There's a building to the south, which is a single-family unit, which is like 3 stories. Plus, it has a rooftop deck, and in fact, there's other precedents in the neighborhood for rooftop decks. So I think this is entirely consistent with other things that are going on in the neighborhood, and I don't see how it would impinge upon any other neighbors in any way.
Okay, great, thank you. Panel, any questions? Nope. Okay, we got the first speaker, Mr. McAllister, on the line.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, just 1 minute. Nick, you've been unmuted.
Yes, good morning. Nick McAllister here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, great. If you could just give us your address, sir.
Yes, very good. My name is Nick McAllister. I sit on the board of directors for MTCC 1187. That's the condominium building in question. My address is 50 Bleecker Street, Unit D. So I'm in the northmost unit of the building under discussion. Generally, so from my reading of these documents, it seems that there are 2 things that are being applied for. It's a walkout that will be inside Unit 2. And then is there an application for a rooftop deck on top of the building as well?
Yes.
Okay. I suppose I don't really have any concerns with the walkout in the building. I think my primary concern with the proposed rooftop deck on the roof is Mr. Gallardo and Unit 2 does not own that section of the roof. The roof is owned by MTCC 1187. And the property owner of Unit 2 has no actual individual property right to that rooftop. So there would certainly need to be some significant discussion taking place between the board of directors and between Mr. Gallardo before we would entertain something like this.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. McAllister. Any questions of the speaker? Next speaker is Mr. O'Haron.
I have a
Oh,
question.
pardon me, Don. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I don't know the speaker's name, but are you saying that this matter came to the Committee of Adjustments without any discussion with the condo board?
There was discussion about whether there has been conversation with the board, but at no point was the property issue raised by the proposer.
Okay. All right.
Carl?
Can I clarify, the board's rules and procedures do not, I just want to make sure I've got this right, do not grant exclusive use of that deck area to this particular owner. That deck area is available to all owners of the condominium. Is that correct?
Not exactly. So there's a deck above Unit D above my unit, which has been designated as an exclusive use common element for the condominium corporation. So that's the northernmost unit of the building. As it is today, that is just the rooftop is a common element owned by the corporation that has not been specifically designated for use by any of the building owners.
So there's no exclusive use rights for the area that's before us.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm inquiring about and was the purpose of my comments today.
So in effect, the owner of the land, the area that we have before us has not given permission for this to happen.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. McAllister. I'm sure we'll get the agent back to address those questions. We have Dylan O'Haron on the line. Mr. O'Haron?
Yes, hi, Dylan O'Haron. I'm at 50 Bleecker Street, Unit 3. So in between Unit 4, Nick that just spoke, and Gerardo Guerrero in Unit 2, who is the applicant. I understand, I'm not an architect, and so when I hear about a variance, and I guess maybe my points are a little bit mute given what Nick said, but if this deck is larger than his footprint of his unit, I think it might be encroaching on my roof. And then if we do have rights in the future to have our own rooftop decks, I would like to have, you know, full use of my roof space and not have him be encroaching on my roof space. That's one point. The next point is, beyond an access, I see a washroom, a fully functional washroom, and a hot tub on the rooftop, which creates some concern for me about potential water issues. We've just refinished our roof, and all of us have major water damage on the inside of our units, and we're gonna have to do drywall and paint. And it's an over 100-year-old building, so with all these plumbing and water going to the roof, as his neighbor, I'm concerned about, you know, my ceiling and potential water damage should there be issues.
Okay, great.
Those are my two issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panel, any questions? None? We have a third speaker, Bruce Scott.
Yes, my name is Bruce Scott. I'm in Unit A, which is the first unit in the building. I'm also adjacent to Unit 2. Really, the other two owners have voiced the same concerns that I have regarding the size of it and regarding also the hot tub that is proposed. So I really don't think I had anything to add in terms of what's different from what's already been said. I agree with the concerns over the weight issues and the water on the roof.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Westwood, you heard some comments, and particularly the comments from the condo board and with regards to whether in fact you're entitled to proceed with this project. I wonder if you could address some of those concerns.
Absolutely. Before we could even get a hearing date, we had to submit a letter from the board authorizing the proposal. And in fact, I have a copy of the letter sent March 15, 2021 to Trevor Swan, which Nick McAllister has signed, basically authorizing going forward with the project to build a rooftop deck with jacuzzi. He had the plans. I don't understand why this is an objection now, since he was the one that signed the original letter. In terms of encroachments, absolutely there would not be any encroachments. Well, technically, I don't suppose, since nobody owns the individual part of the roof, the only thing that we're proposing is a privacy fence and a guard at the front and back, which covers the footprint of our client's property. There is nothing wrong with having a rooftop deck. Issues relating to plumbing or water penetration, those are the sorts of things that would be of concern to the building department once a permit is applied for, but I'm not sure how that's relevant for this hearing.
Okay, I'm just going to depart from convention a little bit because we do have a kind of a he said, she said situation. I'm going to ask if Mr. McAllister is still on the line.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
I wonder if you could just take a very brief moment and address. We understand from the agent that the board has indeed signed off on this.
That's inaccurate. The document that was presented to me was whether or not this project could be explored, whether permitting or an application could be explored. I personally don't have the authority to sign over property belonging to MPCC 1187. That would require a board motion. And obviously, I, as an individual, don't have control of the corporation. So no matter what document I sign, that's certainly not the case. Regardless, that was not my understanding of what the document was. My understanding was the document was that there was some interest in proceeding with a rooftop deck. These are some plans that an engineer has reviewed. Can we submit these to the city to find out what the city thinks about them? there is no discussion of property right, and certainly that would, my signature on this document would not constitute any sort of tacit acquiescence to grant property rights to Mr. Gallardo that don't even belong to him.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that clarification. Panel, any questions of either Mr. McAllister or Mr. Westwood? Yim?
Yes, I'd like to ask the previous speaker that the deck, who's going to maintain the deck, if the proposal is approved, who's going to maintain the hot tub or the roof, the entire roof and the fence and everything? The property owner or the corporation?
May I address that?
Mr. Westwood, yes, please.
Yeah. Well, it's whatever the condo board rules designate for the use of common spaces and whatnot. My client is not claiming ownership of the roof. He understands that it's common property. What he's asking for is permission to have a private amenity space, but he's not saying that he actually owns it. I've actually reviewed the condo board rules for a number of things, and they're actually not very clear. But again, I don't see how that's particularly relevant to this hearing.
I'm sorry, I just want to understand is, you say that you just asked for the use of the part of the roof, but you're putting a new deck on and new, some kind of pergola. Who's going to maintain all this? Yourself or the condo corp? But this is I think it's a relevant question.
If the, I think it's safe to assume, and I'm sure my client would agree, and if there was a condition that the committee wanted to put on this, that was something within the committee's purview, I'm sure my client would be very happy to say that he would be responsible for maintenance of all elements of his improvements on the building.
I sort of feel a little bit hesitant to take on your suggestion, because I think this is agreement between the owners with the condo corporation, rather than we putting on conditions.
Okay.
May I address the question regarding what the letter that was signed off by Mr. McAllister said? May I quote from it? I don't know if you have it in any of your materials.
If you could do it quickly, yes, thanks.
Okay, I will skip to what I think are the good parts. My name is Mr. McAllister, and I'm a representative of the board of 50 Bleecker Street, and I am authorized by the board to speak on its behalf. The owner of Unit B, Gerardo Gallardo, wishes to build a rooftop deck with jacuzzi. We have reviewed the drawings he has supplied for the proposed decks, which are attached to this letter, and we have no objection in principle with his plans, provided that what is built is consistent with the intent of the drawings attached. A building permit is obtained for the project. A structural engineer provides a letter indicating that the proposed project, including the jacuzzi, can be supported by the roof structure. That was signed by Mr. McAllister.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much. Don?
Yeah, Mr. Westwood, is this rooftop deck for the exclusive use of your client, or is it for the mutual benefit of all owners and residents in the condominium?
It is of the exclusive use as the client, as is the one that's just north of what, the additional one that had been granted permission by the committee back in 1994. It's the exact same. It's the exact same thing.
So there is something up there already, an amenity?
There is permission was provided for very similar structure back in 1994.
So what is it?
It's the exact same thing. It's a walkout.
With a hot tub, etc.?
No, I don't believe it has a hot tub. No, but there is a walkout.
But it's an exclusive area for the person who designed it and built it. Is that right?
Yes. Well, yes, because the only one that has access to the walkout is the occupant of that suite. So yes, it is exclusive.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Any further questions of the speakers? Okay. Thank Thank you all. We'll take it into committee. Comments, thoughts? Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like there's a misunderstanding here. I believe that the applicant was quite right to assume that that letter gave him permission to proceed. Based on the wording that he used, it sounded as though the board was in agreement. In fact, there was no, as I understand, there was no resolution of the board to allow this to occur. And without that resolution, I don't think we can proceed, because it's, the board, representing all of the owners, is the owner of the space that is before us. And I don't think we can proceed to create an exclusive use and stairway on property that this individual applicant doesn't own on his own without the board. The other thing that I would note is that in many respects, I think the deck's a good idea, but in reality, the only way you can get to it is through the stairway that goes into the unit below, and it's separated from the rest of the roof by fencing. So in fact, it is an exclusive use. Without the board's approval for that, I frankly don't think we could proceed, and therefore I won't be supporting the application as it currently exists. Notwithstanding the fact I think it's a reasonable idea, I don't think we've got the necessary approval from the board.
Okay, thanks, Carl. Anyone else? Yeah.
I agree with that point, and all along, because their oppositions, they are tenants of the buildings, and I think that maybe even though they have that letter, but it seems that these other owners do not know the exact proposal. And I think that because since we do not know the corporation rules or how the procedure they will take, I'm not in support of that. I think they have to clarify that because they have oppositions here.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
I agree with Carl that I think this does make sense as an idea. But I don't know, I don't have a problem approving it and then having the condo committee either sort it out or not. I thought the letter that was read was quite clear, that the condo board was fine with this proceeding to a certain point. And I think that that's a separate issue that I'm comfortable that they could sort out after the fact, and I'd be happy approving this as I think it's good use of the space, and that there's a precedent in the building already.
Thanks, Peter. Don?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we can approve something that isn't owned by the person who's making the application. He may have this letter, and I agree with Peter that it's a pretty confusing letter. It seems to give him permission. Perhaps he took on more of the rooftop because the condominium owner next to him says he's over my area. This is a common area, so I don't know that it matters, but clearly it wasn't. Nothing here was sufficiently defined as I can see it, and I feel uncomfortable granting permission to someone who is not the owner of the actual property or comes with a board resolution. So I agree with Carl. This should not be something we support.
Great, thanks. I think I'll just weigh in very quickly. There's enough, I think, uncertainty around this application that I think I'm uncomfortable about approving it in the absence of documentation that clearly states that the condo board is in support of this. I take the agent's perspective as he read the letter. It sounded to me like that was authority, but when we hear from a representative of the condo board who disputes that, it puts it in enough a category of uncertainty that it's difficult for us to approve something without really knowing what the context is. So I would agree with Carl as well. So Carl, did you want to bring a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to recommend that the application be refused. But I'd like the reason to be noted that it's because of ownership, lack of clarification about ownership.
Great, do we have
I'll
a
second
seconder?
that.
Don? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion is carried, the application is refused, and just to the applicant, if you bring this forward again, it would probably be to your benefit to ensure that documentation and approval are in place with the condo board. Thanks very much. We'll move on to item number 3. 27 MACHOCKIE Road. Before you, you have a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. And we have no one registered to speak on this one other than the agent, Mr. Ferron is
Yes,
on
good
the
morning,
line.
Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Gabe Faraone, 2572 Eglinton Avenue West.
Great, just hang on, Mr. Ferron. I don't know if we need a presentation. Panel, do you need a presentation? No, I think we're okay. Mr. Ferron, is there anything particular you'd like to add before we take it into committee?
No, I don't.
Okay, great. We'll take this into committee. Panel, any thoughts or a motion? Peter?
Thanks, Chair. Looking at this application, I think it's reasonable, and I think the variances are quite small, and I think it's representative of newer builds in the area. Additionally, I think the fact that we have no opposing correspondence means something anyway. So I think it's worth supporting. So I'll put forward a motion to approve the application with no conditions.
Great, thank you. A seconder? Carl? All in favor? The application is approved, sir. Thank you. We move on to number 4, 87 WINNETT Ave. Before us, we have a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have correspondence and opposition from 99 WINNETT. We do have speakers registered, so Gabriel Gaducci on the line.
Yes, hello, committee.
Hello.
Chair, my name is Gabriel Guiducci.
Your address, sir?
269 St. John's Road. I'm the agent and designer for these.
Great. We have some people registered to speak, so we'd appreciate a short presentation, please.
Oh, yes, of course. So the plan here is to rebuild a detached garage and enclose a front porch. We've obviously have some variances. Most of them are due to existing conditions, also site conditions when it comes down to landscaping. We have spoken to 99 WINNETT, who is the lady that has submitted the letter of opposition. We've explained to her that nothing is really changing from a landscaping point of view. We're actually trying to add some green space within the limited spaces that we have available. So as far as conditions of, soft versus hard are as existing. This is pretty much it from a point of view of presentation on my end. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions as to the detailed components of these submission.
Great, thank you very much. Panel, any questions? Carl?
I appreciate that it's an existing condition, but there is a substantial amount of hard landscaping which works against city policies to try and have water runoff reduced and to have water percolate into the soil. My question is, if I'm reading your drawing correctly, the majority of the space between the garage and the house is existing concrete pavers. Could you see yourself clear to possibly substituting some soft landscaping for that existing concrete pavers, which I think notwithstanding the fact that it's an existing condition, that is a lot of paving, and it would be to the cities and to your benefit to have less water runoff.
Yeah, the plan, I mean, you know, we're open to suggestions from that point. I don't know if I could make a condition on that, on my application, propose a condition. I'll be more than open to, you know, condition maybe the committee could suggest for, you know, a matter of this. It is pure concrete at the moment, and I know that in order for us to possibly build this new garage and the cover deck at the back, there will be some minor excavations or excavation per se. There could be probably plans of recaving that space in between the covered deck and the new garage, possibly with some sort of a, what do they call it? It's a paving system that allows percolation if that is a concern. We are proposing some open space on the sides of the garage. We're trying to put in there also a planter that is not part of the existing condition. So existing condition is, you know, something that we're kind of trying to attach ourselves to. However, the work will entail taking, you know, some of this concrete work out of there. And I'm hoping that, you know, the owner, my client, will be more than happy to add on some more soft landscaping to that space. You know, on that note, I'm open to, you know, hear what the committee might suggest on a condition part for that space. I think we can deal with it.
Carl?
That's fine, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a speaker. Morris Berghaus and Lisa Balin.
Mr. Chair, I think oh, that's right. Matthew Hoskins is the owner. So Lisa Balin, I believe we have on the line. Lisa, you've been unmuted. You can go ahead.
Oh, hi, yes.
Hi.
Lisa Balin. I am 89 Winnett. I'm the attached neighbor.
Okay, you have 5 minutes if you need it.
Yeah, so, you know, we have two concerns. So one, our porches are actually, so we look at the front part of the property at the moment. So we have attached, our porches are currently attached. So we're worried about structural damage to our porch. I don't know if the entire structure is coming down on their side or they're using their existing roof and building out. So that's some of the questions that we had. Just to sort of note, to have record, we want to be sort of cautious of any damage to our existing porch in their build. And then in the back, there currently are on their property, there currently are 3 trees, sort of small trees that actually are part of the sort of soft landscaping there. So my question is, are they planning on keeping those trees that are on their sort of a smaller, I don't know exactly what they're called, the type of tree they're called. They're sort of a smaller, more narrow width tree, but there's 3 that are on their property but provide shade to our property. There's also roots that go underneath we also have hard landscaping in the back too, which is concrete that we inherited when we moved in. So there are roots that run underneath all our back property that are from those trees. So kind of wondering about what's happening with the tree excavation and all those roots excavation and how it would affect our back lot as well.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions, panel? Nope. Mr. Guiducci, I wonder if you could address those concerns?
Yes, as far as the first comment regarding the structural damages in the front porch, obviously there is an engineer already engaged. We have a plan to rebuild these floor system and porch on our side. However, we're not foreseeing any damages. We cannot have and create any damages to our neighbors' adjacent structures. So there's definitely not plans on, you know, taking anything down from our neighbor's porch. There will be technology used and engineering engineer review, and obviously we have to get a building permit to satisfy city staff to make sure that we do, and obviously any building inspection that will come along with these proposed. On the tree side, I don't think any of these trees fall under any protected forestry limitations or protections, given their sizes. However, as far as my knowledge takes me, the owner is online as well. We can ask that question to him, but there is no plans of removing any of these trees.
Okay. Thank you. I'm not presupposing the panel's decision, but following up on Mr. Niffel's comment about soft landscaping, would you be able to estimate how much additional soft landscaping in the rear you'd be able to provide?
That's it.
There is like variance number 7 is quite specific.
Yes.
So if we could, if it was possible to come up with something, if you wanted to modify that variance.
Some 5% of adding a 5% of the space could possibly be a feasible number. Again, it is hard for me to establish so without going through a zoning review again. I'm afraid of making a change that might not fit from a zoning
Okay.
examination. I don't know if a condition to the type of hard landscaping, like there's a specific type of we use that in sometimes in driveways. We actually do use that in some front yard parking sometimes. It's a type of paving that allows water to percolate.
Yeah, it's permeable pavers, and we're
Permeable,
actually,
that's it.
we're
I'm
quite
sorry.
familiar with it. Carl, is there wording, in the absence of anything specific, is there wording that you would be comfortable with to address your concern?
I'm a little, I don't know that I've got a good solution. The bylaw wouldn't change. Permeable paving isn't considered soft landscaping. So if you were to remove it all and put permeable paving in, the actual bylaw would still, or the variance would, you'd still require a variance for 9.3% of the rear yard area. Sorry, the rear yard would still only have 9.3% soft landscaping. There's two ways this could possibly be done, and that is to actually increase the amount of soft landscaping to a percentage like 15%, and we don't have a drawing to do that with. The other alternative is to place a condition that the existing concrete pavers are to be replaced with permeable paving. My question to the applicant is, you were only suggesting that would take place for a portion of the concrete pavers, though not all of them, right?
Well, my suggestion would be that we could propose that all space between the house and the garage to be all permeable paving.
I think that's a good solution. That's fine. That would make all the sense in the world to me. And then your variance wouldn't change.
That's
but
right.
It would be a condition. Yeah.
That's right, because I really don't know. It's a fairly particular situation, as you can tell from a right of way at the back of our house too, that allows cars to come in and out. I don't really know 100% how the plan examiner has established these variances, so I'm very afraid to play around with that. But I appreciate your comment.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. We'll take this into committee. Comments? Motion? Yim?
Yeah, with Carl's suggestion for the condition for the permeable papers, I'm okay with the application, and I'm in support of it.
Is that a
condition?
Is that a motion, Jim or Yim?
Okay. Yeah, I moved to approve with the condition that the area between the garage and the house, the concrete paver will be replaced by permeable paver.
Okay, seconder? Carl? All in favor? You have your approval, sir, with the condition of permeable pavers. Okay, we move to item number 5, 48 Wheeler. Before you have a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have an arborist report dated September 13th, 2021. We also have an email from city planning. Panel, we don't have any registered speakers on this item.
Mr. Chairman, yes you do.
Oh, beg your pardon? Is this Michael Flynn?
This is Michael Flynn.
Oh, yes, no, we have the agent. I wasn't, I just noted we didn't have anyone else other than the agent. But thank you. Mr. Flynn, I wonder if you could introduce yourself, your address?
My name is Michael Flynn. I live at 1990 Cordova Avenue in Toronto.
Great, just hang on a sec. Panel, do we need a presentation on this one? Carl?
Mr. Chairman, I simply have a question. There's an email from planning raising some concerns with the application, but unless I've missed it, there isn't a subsequent report from planning. Does anyone know what planning's position is on this application?
Mr. Chair, I can tell you about a subsequent email.
Okay, go ahead.
That was sent from planning to committee, and they had no issues with the application. Once the questions were answered, they were satisfied.
What's the date of that email, sir?
Just one moment, please. Uh, 10/12/2021, and it's from Sean Gunster.
Okay, so that's a December email.
And it actually says, "Hi, Michael, community planning does not have any concerns with this proposal. We will have to tie the new front porch enclosure to plans and ensure there's a privacy screening condition in place once a committee date is scheduled." And then you got no report from them. But we did agree with them to provide screening anyways.
Okay.
So I have no problems with that being a condition.
That's great. Thank you. Anything further to add, Mr. Flynn?
No, I think this is a fairly modest application. The planning department is okay, transportation is okay, there's no objections from the neighbors. I think it's in keeping with previous decisions, it maintains the character of the neighborhood, there's no adverse impacts, and I believe it meets the 4 tests. So I would ask that you approve.
Great, thank you. Panel, any further comments, questions? Nope, we'll go into committee. Comments, motion? Yim?
Yes, I have through the application, I have no problem supporting this application with the planning conditions. Yeah. I will move for approval with the 2 planning conditions. Although we do not have that report in our file, I don't think we have.
Can we don't have that report in front of us. Can we say tying them to plans and providing
Yes.
Screening?
Screening, but I'm not too sure where, but where will be the screening?
Mr. Flynn, I'm going to bring you back in. Where's the screening? Is he there? Mr. Flynn?
Proposed deck. I think that it has to be on the proposed deck on the second story in the rear. So the screening would be to the two sides. I'm just looking for the north-south arrow here. On the north and south side.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, with that two conditions, I move for approval.
Great, thank you. Seconded by Peter. All in favor? Your application is approved, sir.
Just to
Thank you, Mr.
clarify,
Chairman. Thank you, members.
it was to tie it to screening and to tie it to plans?
Tie it to plans and privacy screening on the second floor balcony.
So the plans are all the plans or elevations?
I think the way the applicant read it, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, I think it was to ensure that the porch wasn't too high, but without the actual recommendation, I don't have it before me. I thought it was, the plans were a way of indicating that the height is tied somehow to the porch. But we don't have the, so I think the clearest thing is to tie it to all the plans.
Yeah, that's
All
what I
right.
would do.
Elevations and site plan, okay.
Yep. Is that okay, panel? Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. We move on to item number 6, 204 Kingston Road. The committee has in front of it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans and elevations, an arborist report dated September 30th, 2021. Staff report from forestry and correspondence in opposition from 204, 208, 3 from 204 Kingston Road and 1 from 208. Do we have the agent on the line? Mr. Pomeroy?
Yes, good morning, panel. My name is Scott Pomeroy. I'm the applicant.
Your address, sir?
883 Pape Avenue,
Thank
Suite
you.
100 in Toronto.
We have some folks wanting to share their thoughts, so if you could give us a presentation on this application, please.
Sure. So 204 Kingston Road, as you're aware, is a 3-story existing apartment building. It's approximately 80 years old. It has 15 existing units, apartment units, and it has a basement that is vacant on the south side. It's unused space, and our proposal, yeah, you can see there, our proposal is to add 2 one-bedroom residential units. It's further down, that's the existing condition. There's the drawings further down there. And we, in order to do, sorry, keep going down, is the proposed, there it is. In order to do that, we need to bring in natural light from the south and provide a second entrance from the south. So our proposal is to put a walkout at the basement level on the south side of the property with stairs toward the east, which is to Kingston Road. And if you back up on the top to the, if you go back to the site plan, there's a path connecting us to the main path to the entrance of the building there. Yeah. So it's for that path. So in order to do that, we require the 4 variances listed. Number 1 is that we require a minimum of 50% of the required landscaping to be maintained as soft landscaping, and in this case, we're proposing 26% to maintain as soft landscaping. But I think it's important, very important to note that obviously this building predates zoning and its site, and the existing condition is 32% is soft landscaping, and we're proposing 26, so a reduction of 6% of the soft landscaping, which is about 30 square meters, which is for the walkout itself and the path leading up to it from the front entrance. So it's a minor reduction in soft landscaping. Item number 2 is that the required vehicle entrance and exit for a 2-way driveway is 5.5 meter width. In this case, we'll have 3.9 meters. You can go back to the site plan, if you like, on the north. So this is on the north side of the building, right below where it's, or right to the left of where it says existing asphalt, over on the left side of the building. So this is an existing condition again, and it's simply where the corner, there's a corner of the building where it says 4.5 meters to the north property line. In fact, there is an existing light well. So we've shown, for some reason it's cut out there, but it's 3.9 meters to that light well, and then we're proposing to paint in yellow safety lines as well, just to indicate, because there is an exit on the north side of the building. So just to indicate not to drive in that aisle, but that pinch point is an existing condition that we're not changing as part of this. But it's always been like that. Items 3 and 4 are regarding parking, that in order to add these 2 units, we would need to add 1 space for the occupants and 1 space for visitors. We're limited to the 8 parking spaces at the rear of the property, and physically cannot add any more parking spaces. So that is one of the variances, to add the two units without increasing parking. But in summary, we believe that what we're requesting, what we're proposing to do, is a minor variance. We're maintaining the residential use. We're increasing suites by 2, which is approximately 12%. We're doing so without any significant visual impact from Kingston Road or the surrounding area. And we're in line with the official plan and zoning neighborhoods, where we're increasing the rental housing stock for the city. We think it's a good place to do it. Again, we're adding these units in unused space. Again, little visual impact. Is actually an opportunity to the south area of the property is between this building and the building to the south is unused, and we're proposing to put in the access, and then we will landscape around it. So it's an opportunity to improve that area. And as far as the parking goes, we have very good access to transit. We're right on Kingston Road.
Mr. Pomeroy, we'll just ask you to wrap it up if you can.
Yep. I'd say we're 2 blocks from Queen Street East, which is a major streetcar route, and we're 2 blocks from Woodbine, which has a straight bus, about 8 blocks from Woodbine subway station. So
great. Thank you very much. Panel, any questions? Carl?
Yes, to the applicant. Can you clarify the number of parking spaces that you require for the existing buildings?
Carl, we've got Carl, just hang on a sec. We've got some feedback coming in. Hang on a sec.
You can go ahead, Carl. It's noise coming from the applicant's speaker.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, please, go ahead.
The 8 parking spaces that are shown on your site plan, are they what is required for the existing building before you add the additional apartment units?
No, I believe they would be deficient. Like you're saying, if we kept the 15 units, or if we were to propose a new building with 15 units, I believe, at least at the time of the application, we would be required to add more parking spaces than the 8.
So then my only question is the variance relative to the parking correct?
I believe the way that the zoning examiner looked at it is they just looked at the 2 units being proposed and said that the 2 parking spaces or 1 for occupants, 1 for visitor would be required. Just, I think they looked at it just based on those 2 units rather than reviewing the existing.
my only question would be if you had to come back again because you were still deficient in parking, which is something you perhaps may wish to look at. I have a second question. The owner to the north has raised concerns about the fact that he, as I understand it, has always been able to access his property, the area behind his building, through your property. And can we put the site plan on again? As I understand it, your most northerly parking space is pulled back from the west property line. Yeah, right there. Because there's some kind of a container there. Is that something that you have any flexibility in moving perhaps to the area, the other side of the property, and allowing this fourth parking space to be pushed further to the west to allow the access through?
Yeah, I'd have to discuss that with the owner. There's a shed there. That is not the part that they have the right of way to, which you can see on the site plan and the survey. I guess so. My client purchased the property last year, but I guess the owner at 208 is saying that they've had access in the past, but that wasn't legal access through right of way. So putting the parking there is trying to maximize. Yeah, there you can see shed atop a concrete pad is there. So putting the parking space there is to maximize the parking. It could possibly be looked at to see if there's anywhere else that shed could go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions? Nope. Okay, we have some speakers. First up, Taylor Curran.
Mr. Chair, Taylor Curran, I believe, is the property owner.
Okay.
So I think the next one is Nathan Romagnoli.
Okay.
Romagnoli, 208 Kingston Road. I could be mistaken here. I do not believe that Taylor is the property owner. However,
okay.
Shall I continue?
Yeah, Nathan, why don't you go ahead? We'll circle back to Taylor.
Thank you so much. So thanks for the opportunity. I have laid out some concerns to the proposal in a letter, which is truly quite basic, based on the requested variances that are stated in the letter that I had received, and really quite truly that they're all deficient. Each topic is deficient based on the city's own bylaw system. So just in total obvious nature of the basics of it, I certainly don't think that it even meets the requirements, let alone any types of personal or otherwise feelings on it. Yeah, so the challenge in terms of my self, if you will, that the properties are quite unique and historically have always been that way. There's a laneway, if you will. I'm not sure if I'm using the correct terminology, but the access point from Kingston Road is quite narrow, and with it currently being deficient for the width, there's obvious concern. Kingston Road is an extremely busy road with a sidewalk that is between the road and our mutual properties, of course. And so we have pedestrians, we have families, children, dogs, other animals, continually coming down the street. The access in and out, primarily out, is quite challenging on the best of days. So causing anything to further impede the laneway is just a general safety concern. There's many days where as a property owner, I can't get into my own area in a proper manner, just on a good day, whether it's having cars that have parked themselves inside the laneway, which again, I'm not a planning architect, I don't know these things, but I don't believe that parking in the laneway is allowed. It's already impeded by other elements like multiple Toronto garbage containers, which could certainly, in my opinion, be relocated to other areas of the property, and that they're not. Garbage Day Tuesday, a couch laying inside of the laneway, impeding general access. So even the applicant explaining that there was a notion of adding yellow lines or what have you for safety and whatnot, I feel that in truth and reality, it's a beautiful idea, but it will never be able to be utilized properly because it will be impeded by cars, deliveries. It's constantly congested in that area. Further to that, the 8 parking spaces had never existed in history. There was one less parking space, and so the parking space in front of the shed, which was just discussed, was added recently, which impedes the access to my own land. I mean, even as a pedestrian, to the vacant space of my land at the north side of 208 Kingston. So adding the 8 parking space to an already deficient parking lot per the number of units existing in the building, cannot see it being reasonable that even with a bonus spot, which again causes me lack of access to my own space, and is butted up directly against my property line, it's already deficient. So in general, I mean, I have total opposition to the application for the very basic reasons which are listed in the requested variances 1 through 4. Further to the fact that the property was already deficient in my understanding to the requirements.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
If it's noted, I had sent photographs of the scenario on various times of the day, just certainly not casing the property, but just to prove that the laneway is impeded constantly. And the cars that literally will park in the laneway for days on end. Just general safety and challenge for sure. The laneway, notwithstanding the parking lot, let me make that clear that the parking lot, of course, certainly park your car in the lot. Parking in the laneway, completely different story, impeding the safety coming in and out. Rush hour, turning left into the laneway, impossible on a good day, more impossible when there's delivery cars or visitors that have decided to, not even make use of surrounding street parking. As it's stated in my letter as well, there is obvious street parking allowed on Kingston Road. That's in between rush hour traffic, of course. And, even me, myself, as a property owner, utilize the street park when required very easily, but it's whether people are afraid to park on Kingston Road because they think it's too busy or something. It causes more traffic in the laneway. And obviously the other...
Mr. Romanoli, sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting, but you're well over time. I wonder...
Sure, thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you very much.
All. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Okay. I think we have Taylor Curran on the line, so we'll go back to Mr. Curran.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yep, if you could state your name and your address, please.
Perfect. Name is Taylor Curran. I live at 204 Kingston Road, Unit 105. I'm also on the call with my partner who lives with me, Naomi, my girlfriend, so I'll take a couple minutes, give her a couple minutes, and then we can proceed.
We'll just need her name as well, please.
Her name is Naomi Richardson.
Okay.
She also lives at 204 Kingston Road, Unit 105.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, so I'd just like to echo everything that the last speaker said. The owner of 208 Kingston Road, I agree wholeheartedly with everything that Nathan said there about the laneway and the safety and the parking. There are cars that are parked there, whether they're visitors or people dropping by for deliveries, that do block the laneway. It's very narrow. In the photo that Nate showed of the snow being plowed onto that back space there, that is a parking spot. Having said that, when it does snow, the owner of the person who does park in that spot is forced to park at the beginning of the laneway right at Kingston Road in front of those garbage bins, causing an already tight laneway to be even tighter. So that's obviously a major issue on our part. adding 2 more units and adding 2 more spots is, I believe, possible. That laneway and parking lot are already jam-packed with cars. There's 8, I believe, 8 parking spots for a total of 15 units, which doesn't allow everyone in the unit or everyone in the building to have a parking spot. One of my major concerns was removing our little green space. I know that the agent on the line spoke earlier about removing only a minimal amount of green space. I'm sitting in front of the actual green space right now in my unit. I look out onto Kingston Road. It's tiny, so to take my dog outside for a pee at night or anything along those lines is already difficult given that we have no green space. So to go and remove that green space is going to be a major concern for me, and I believe for all the other people on the line as well. Having said that, we do live on the first floor right above the basement units that are being proposed, so I work from home permanently, so I'm not sure how that will interfere with Wi-Fi or noise or anything along those lines, making it difficult for me to work from home. That pretty much sums everything that I have up, so if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pass it over to Naomi Richardson.
Sure. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Is it Naomi?
I believe she's also called in on her phone, so if you could unmute her.
Oh, hang on a sec. We'll unmute her. Naomi?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, just for the record, your name and your address?
Hi, yeah, so my name is Naomi Richardson. I also reside at 204 Kingston Road, Unit 105. I believe I was scheduled as a speaker on this call, so I do have, I wrote some notes about what I'd like to speak about. I feel like the laneway has already kind of been covered, so I won't reiterate that. However, I do want to make a point with the laneway that the reduction in space to 3.9 meters also is measured at the widest point without obstruction. And as you can see from Nate and from Taylor, I just don't feel like this non-obstruction is a thing with our laneway, so I would also just like to point that out. I would like to speak about other issues, so I will proceed with doing that now. I wrote this down just so I can speak better, so I'm just going to ramble through it. Let me know if I'm going over time for that 5 minutes. I would like to discuss the green space. It was a shock that these new units involved cutting the green space to our building in half. I know Scott had mentioned only a certain percentage, but in the variance law, it says we're going from 50% to 26%, which is essentially half. By looking at the plans, we lose all of our green space on the side of our building and losing a majority of our front lawn area. This action is not done by somebody who I believe has a community at heart. We don't live downtown here. We live in the beaches, and we care about green space. We care about having a space to take our dogs, a space to work out or sit in the summer. Each morning when I wake up and look outside, I see the trees and my neighbors. I don't want to see concrete, and I'm saddened by the idea of ripping out 4 trees and countless flowers and plants with no plans to be replaced at all. If there was a plan maybe to add space or some garden area or even a roof garden, maybe I could understand, but there's just been no effort to turn the green space they're tearing out into anything else. Scott also mentioned in the call that this area in the south is being unused, but that's only by the owner's design. I think the south could be an amazing garden or could be an amazing meeting or sitting area for the tenants, but the owners have shown no effort to do so, apart from putting in a stairwell to make money for themselves. Finally, also my biggest issue is lack of community awareness. I'm personally appalled that although greatly affecting all of us, not a single person in this building was given any written notice about the variance happening. It is to my knowledge that it is a legal requirement to give all members of the nearby community a copy of the public hearing notice to demonstrate the plans for the variance on the building. Speaking with the people who live in this building, not a single person got given this notice. I also have a dog which I walk in the cemetery behind us, and speaking with some of the neighbors, they also were unaware of this change. The only person who is able to give us access to these materials, which is our next door neighbor Nathan on the call. Along with this, the only public awareness to the meeting, apart from the letter that we were not received, was a tiny poster placed at the furthest back point of our front lawn. I believe that this is not somebody who has the community at heart by not following their legal duty to inform the community in creating a tiny sign and not giving out the letters that they were supposed to do. This isn't a quiet project and shouldn't be quietly taken care of. This is a cut of curb appeal, a cut on land space, and a cut to accessibility through the laneway on Kingston Road as mentioned before. Although up to interpretation, I believe this is obviously just a selling point, and I don't believe that a plan that believes in just making money is a plan that has a community at heart. And that's pretty much all I have left to say.
Great, thanks very much. Panel, any questions of the speakers? Seeing none, we can maybe bring back Mr. Pump. Oh, Carl, pardon me, sorry. Carl, do you have a question?
I have a question for the owner to the north.
Mr. Romanoli?
Is he still available? Yeah.
Hold it, let's just find out if he's on the line. Carl, says, Mr. Romanoli, are you on the line?
Mr. Chair, just 1 minute, please. Mr. Romanoli, you've been unmuted, you can go ahead.
Yes, good morning, I am on the line.
Okay, go ahead, Carl.
Mr. Romanoli, you indicated that you can't get to the area behind your building, except through the driveway on this particular property. You have a right-of-way, but am I correct, the right-of-way doesn't extend all the way back to the back of your building? It only goes halfway down your building? That's what I see from the site plan, is that correct?
That is correct, and there's been some serious and contentious issues surrounding that in history. You know, I certainly did not build the building that I own on the property. It was inherited, if you will, the way it was built, and so historically speaking, and throughout all owners prior to the applicant or the current owner, there was access that was provided to the physical open space at the absolute north. And if you, perhaps you can't see the building and how our building was constructed, but there's doors and access points for function of the building, which you know, were obviously made such that they could be accessed, and so it's basically been totally impeded. Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? None? Mr. Pomeroy, I wonder if you could address some of the concerns we've heard?
Yes, thank you. I guess I'll do that in order. So the owner at 208, you know, I'm hearing their concerns, and we just looked at the right of way. I think that's a different issue. They don't have a right of way at the back, but I will speak to, you know, they mentioned several times the narrow access between the buildings. In fact, and to Kingston Road, in fact, part of the review with zoning, and as we show on the site plan, is that we had to reduce, it was going to be a variance because our access was too wide. You can't have more than a 6-meter wide access for this thoroughfare, so we needed to reduce it with the yellow lines on the north side. It does narrow at the back, that's an existing condition. And, you know, so as I said, I mean, the best we can do is paint the yellow safety lines up against our building. And I hear you know, when I saw the objections, a lot of it was about towing and people parking there. And so I've discussed it with the owner since this has come up, because I wasn't aware of it. I'm not in the operations of the building, obviously. But I think, you know, I think it's fully encouraged that anyone who parks illegally should be towed and signs should be put up. I think there's, if the reason for that is that there's snow in the parking spot, I don't think, you know, that'll be reviewed, because obviously that wouldn't be fair to put snow where their parking is, but nobody should be parking in that thoroughfare. That's not fair to the tenants, and it's not the landlord's want. It doesn't benefit them in any way. So we would fully encourage all tenants and the neighbor to call when anyone's parked in that thoroughfare, because they should be towed. And as far as you know, you mentioned deficiency in parking, but I'm a little unclear, because we're adding that parking space to provide more parking. But then he didn't want the parking so that he had access to the back of his space. And so we're obviously falling on the side of increasing parking for the back of the space. The other point too is worth noting is that when leasing out these spaces, parking is not going to be part of that lease. It's not going to be an option. They obviously can't lease it out if the parking is fully used. So it's not going to bring any more cars to the building. And so we would fully expect that whoever leases these spaces would be without a car, which is very reasonable in this area. And for its access to transit. So with regard to the green space, just reiterate, it is an existing condition. We're a 6% reduction. I can show some images if I can share the screen of what it is now and what we're proposing. So, am I able to share?
Hi, you can't share the screen, but if you have submitted it, you can provide it. You can direct me to it.
Okay. So no, I mean, so yes, I mean we're taking away a bit of area to that south side. It really, we've discussed it with the south neighbor, who it visually impacts the most, but we've shown them a landscaped drawing where we propose to both make sure that they have privacy from the new unit, and also to provide ground cover and plantings along that area and around this area. And then at the front green space, it is, like I say, it'll be like a paving stone path coming off of the main path.
Okay. That's great. Thank you very much, panel. Any, Don?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, is that right of way? We've talked about it as a laneway. Is it a private drive owned by the applicant?
Yes, it's on. You can see the property line is of the two of our owner's property goes up almost to the building at 208. You can see it along there. However, they have a right-of-way from Kingston Road to that point that you're highlighting right now.
Okay, so I don't understand how that affects the two apartments that you're going to make, and you're going to make sure nobody has a car. There's going to be no parking for them, so they're not going to be able to have a car. How does this right-of-way or the problems with the right-of-way and the driving, how does that affect this application?
In our opinion, it doesn't have anything to do with it. The owner at 208, their concern is, I guess, historically that there was the parking spaces at the back of the property were not maximized, and they, I guess, had access to the back of their property, but it wasn't legal access.
Yeah.
So we've added the owner's added a parking space, and I guess that impedes them to the back of their space. But that wasn't access that they had. And you're right, whether we put in these two units or not, that parking space is intended to stay there to maximize parking for the building. Just shown, more to the left of this. The one with the number 4 in it. But again, that's not a right of way.
Okay. Don? Good. Peter?
I'm good.
Thanks. One of the letters from the tenants noted that they had concerns about what is existing storage space is going to be removed. So if the applicant could talk about that, and if the tenants do use that for storage now, or if that's included in the lease. And additionally, what efforts were made to notify or engage the current residents about these changes being proposed?
So the spaces on the south side of the basement are not used for storage. They are empty. They're in need of work, repair. That is how the current owner purchased the building. So it's not taking away any space from the tenant's current use. In terms of the application, I don't know what happened there with the letters that we understand that the city reaches out. I don't want to misspeak. I guess the owner did not speak to the residents, but we understood that they would receive a letter from the city regarding this. So I'm not sure why any of them wouldn't have received that.
Just as a point of clarification, I think when the city issues notification, it's to property owners only. Okay, any further questions? Okay then, I think we'll take it into committee. Any comments? Yim?
Well, I can start. I think the issue about the easement, obviously, maybe the owner of 208 does not know that they do not have the legal use of the entire lane. But besides that, regardless, it's got really little to do with the proposal in front of us. And the only other complaint is about the reduction in green space. And I noticed that actually on the north of the 208 and behind, they have a lot of green spaces, and they can, this is an apartment building. I do not think putting a little walkway will affect the apartment so much, because the other tenants will not get access to the green space too much anyway. So I'm in support of this proposal on the issues that it does increase 2 units, and I think it's a good thing to increase number of dwelling.
Thanks, Jim. Anyone else? Peter?
Thanks, Chair. I agree. I think it's positive to add units, and I think this is being done in a fairly sensitive way. I just think it's a bit of a shame that the owner wasn't more transparent with the residents, and I think that could have solved a lot of issues. The main issue that seems to be coming up is the driveway and the congestion, and I think that's more of an existing operations question. And I think the fact that these new tenants coming in would basically not have access to that parking is a bit of a remedy for that. So I'll be supporting it as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do we have a motion? Yim?
I would propose to approve with the condition that probably should tie to the basement plan, because as Peter raised about the storage area, and then on the plan it has stated that the north side of the building is reserved as a storage space. So I think we should tie to the basement plan.
Okay, motion before us, seconder, Peter?
I think there's urban forestry condition 2 as well.
Yes, you're right.
There is.
Yeah,
I'm happy to second that.
Okay, all in favor? Your application is approved, sir. Thank you all. The next 2 items are related. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer. There are two sides of a semi, both being done almost identically. I wonder, could we deal with them both at the same time? Two different motions, okay. Panel members, you okay with that, dealing both of these at the same time? Same agent? Okay, we'll proceed on that basis. Before us we have a copy of plans of survey, site plan, tree protection plan, floor plans and elevations, an arborist report dated August 18th, and a cover letter from the agent. We have comments from TRCA and Urban Forestry. We have a letter of opposition from 437, and that is identical for both 451 and 449 Montrose. So, do we have the agent on the line? So the agent.
Yes, Gabriel Fain here. Can you hear me? Great. So I'm the agent and the architect on the file.
Your address, sir?
My address is 388 Bloor Street East.
Okay, do we have a speaker register? Yes, so we wonder if we could get a presentation, and we're combining both applications together, so if you could speak to both, that would be great.
Great, thank you, members of the committee. It's great that you're allowing me to speak to both because they're really combined, and there's two. Project consists of replacing two existing semi-detached dwellings with two new semi-detached dwellings, in addition to adding two new laneway houses. And the laneway houses will contain two rental units, which we believe will be valuable contributions to the much-needed rental stock in this neighborhood. The laneway houses, I just want to emphasize, are proposed to be completely as of right. We believe that we've designed these projects with the greatest attention and sensitivity to the neighborhood context as it relates to the official plan. There are several minor variances being requested. We believe the variances are minor in nature, and in keeping with the precedents of similar approvals over the last 10 years, we've provided some highlighted approvals of adjacent neighbors in our cover letter. The buildings are designed to appear as if they've always existed on the site. The elevation, especially facing Montrose, is designed as a brick facade and reads as a two-story pitched roof traditional house, similar to many houses on the street. The third floor is actually set further back from both east and west faces of the building, so there's really no negative impact created by the height variance. Green roofs will also be incorporated to provide additional landscape on roof surfaces, and the green roofs we believe will be beneficial to the neighbors who will have sight lines over the roof and towards Bickford Park. So just on the topic of landscaping, the reduction in some of the landscaping and the variances are specifically related to the emergency access requirements to the laneway suite via the side yard and through the rear yard of the properties. The proximity of the property line on the front also kind of makes it a little bit challenging to meet that landscape requirement, but we did the best we can to really improve on the existing conditions. So I'll just highlight just the variances very quickly in terms of how we're approaching them. So I mentioned about the landscaping is this very minor variance. In terms of the height variance, I mentioned that the third floors are set well back. We have to understand that this is an end block condition. The Bickford Center is to the north, so there's no negative shadow impacts created by the height variance. Next, the density is very much consistent with other approvals in the area, and we feel that through massing, articulation, and really this kind of pitched roof idea, that the density is not really visible. It's not really kind of gauged from when you're on Montrose. In terms of the side yard setback, it's actually kind of an improvement over the existing on 451, and on 449 it's only a slight variance. And then again with the engaged with the neighbors. We've engaged with city planning extensively. We have an email from city planning say that they support the project. We have engaged with urban forestry extensively through our arborist, and they have no issues with the proposed tree kind of strategy as it relates to the minor variances. So the strategy with respect to removal, tree protection, does not impact or does not have any influence on the minor variances, and we have email record of that from urban forestry. So just to summarize, you know, we did our homework here to really understand the built form context on Montrose, which is really characterized by these kind of 2 to 3 story buildings, which, you know, have existed for quite a long time, and it's in our interest to create something that really blends into that. It's really a reinterpretation of a traditional house in a contemporary way. Again, we spoke to planning, spoke to urban forestry, we spoke to the neighbors, and we believe that this project does meet the formative planning test. And finally, we believe fundamentally that laneway housing is such a key opportunity in the city to increase rental stock in a very sensitive and respectful manner. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Panel, any questions? Nope, seeing none. We have on the line the speaker, Bernd Baltus.
Yes.
Hi, please give us your name and your address, please.
My name is Bernd Baltus. I live on 437 Montrose.
Okay, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, my concern with the development is with the number of trees that will have to be removed. The number is quite large. Among them are 4 mature trees, and the removal is contested by the owner of 447. This has been going on since last summer, and she commissioned her own arborist report, which was sent to Parks and Forestry on June 22nd, and for some reason it is not appended. It has not been appended to the application, although the letter from Forestry says any submissions you provide to urban forestry will be disclosed to the applicant at their request. The competing arborist report points out a number of significant weaknesses in the applicant's own arborist report. And in particular, it refers to 4 areas where the application conflicts with City of Toronto bylaws, because of the 4 mature trees that are scheduled for removal, 3 stand on 447, just south of the property line. Among these is a towering white spruce with 41 centimeters diameter. It's about twice as high as the current building, and the other trees are all mature, healthy trees. So the bylaws that are contravened are the tree bylaw that prevents the damaging, peeling, and defacing of trees. The Ontario Forestry Section bylaw, which has to do with consent of the adjacent landowner. The official plan, which advocates which requires the preserving of existing mature trees wherever possible and incorporating them into landscape design. So we are really concerned with, I am really concerned with this tree devastation. The general problem is that this is a very densely populated neighborhood, and we see more and more development and no increase in green space. And so this is my main point. I would request that another arborist report is commissioned that deals with the weaknesses of the applicant's report. And I would request in particular that there should be a review of alternative design options, because the full foundations for the area where the trees stand could be replaced by other things such as helical piers for the laneway house, and all of that would limit the injury to four of the trees in question, including the 3 trees that stand on the property of 447. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you very much. I just wanted to bring to your attention that there is a report from Urban Forestry. They have attended the site, and they have, if the panel were to approve this application, they have suggested several conditions with respect to the trees on the property. So just so you're aware of that. Okay? Any questions of the speaker panel? Nope. Is any more speakers, or we're done? Nope. Okay. Mr. Fain.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Fain. Do you want to respond to some of those concerns?
Yes. Just first of all, our arborist is an excellent arborist, and we've used them on a number of occasions. So I think that's, obviously there's room for interpretation there in terms of one arborist report versus another. The second point I'd like to make is that the gentleman who spoke was at 437, so I'm not sure if he's particularly privy to the conversations that are happening with the adjacent neighbor at 447. Like I mentioned, the owners of 449 and 451 have engaged extensively with those neighbors, and the gentleman from 437 may not be privy to those conversations. Third, I want to mention again that Urban Forestry has advised us that this application, in terms of the minor variances, are not affected by the trees. So after we hopefully get approval, we're going to have to engage again with Urban Forestry and obviously remove their conditions. And we've done projects in the past where we've worked with the trees that are existing and used helical piers, and we are certainly open to exploring those options. And we fully respect that, and it's in our interest to protect landscaping and trees, and we're really trying to kind of balance adding these laneway suites and increasing the rental stock, and also protecting trees, and kind of there's a balance there. So just finally, I just want to mention again, like, we're talking about the minor variances here. They do not negatively impact the gentleman at 437. While I respect his opinion, I don't think that the minor variances have any negative impact on his property. And there's been ongoing discussions with the neighbor to the south regarding the trees, and I'm sure that there's going to be further discussions following today through our discussions with Urban Forestry.
Great, thanks very much. Panel, any further questions of the agent? We'll take it into committee then. Any comments, thoughts, suggestions? Peter?
Thanks. I'll start off. We've done it. Carl, I saw his hand go up. I think this is a really well-designed project. I like the fact that there's both sides of the semi are being considered as one. And especially considering its context at the block end and very close to transit, this is, I think, an entirely appropriate proposal. I think the actual design is sensitive, and I do really appreciate the fact that the laneway suites have been designed as of right. So I think it's completely worth supporting.
Great, thanks, Peter. Carl?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with the comments that Peter just made. I'd like to add as well that this is one of the best submissions I've seen in recent times. It was comprehensive. The material provided was easy to read. It was really quite a treat to review this application. I agree with Peter. This is a very sensitively designed proposal. I think the final solution is really quite commendable, and I'll have no trouble at all in supporting the application.
Thank you, Carl. Anyone else? Yep, I would just echo Peter's comments that the laneway suites are being proposed as of right, which, of course, as a committee, we always love to see. Anyone care to make a motion?
Sure, I'm happy to bring a motion for approval for both 451 Montrose and 449.
Do we need a separate motion? Hang on a sec, Peter. Do we need separate motions?
Sure.
If you're inclined to impose the forestry conditions, they're not identical for the application.
Peter, can we just make two separate motions, please?
Sure. For item 7, I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 2 and 3.
Okay, a seconder to that. Carl, all in favor?
Yep.
Do we need to impose the engineering condition for laneway suites? Normally, we do have a set of engineering conditions.
I don't, did anyone see the conditions? I don't
see it. That's one.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, but you're right, Ian. We usually do.
Yeah.
We could just add that as a subject to development engineering.
Yes, because usually it is regarding the fire hydrant location and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And municipal address, yes. Okay, that sounds fair. Have we got that included in Peter's motion? Okay. That motion stands. Did we have a seconder? Sorry.
Carl.
Carl, all in favor?
Yep.
That application is approved. Peter, would you like to continue with the second?
Yes, please. So for item number 8, I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 1 and 2 and the same development engineering conditions we just brought up.
Thank you. Seconder? Yim? All in favor? Sir, you have your approvals for both applications. Thank you very much. I'm going to suggest we take a very short 10-minute break and be back at about 12:05.
Through you, Mr. Chair, also, we have to switch to YouTube stream. So everyone watching on YouTube, we're going to be switching over to the PM session for panel 1. So the stream will be there.
Okay.
Thanks.
See you in a few minutes.